We did mention earlier about the issue with the floating point and coming up with accurate numbers. So we'll talk about this for a moment, and we'll look at the possible solution. So it lets the user enter an interest rate, number of years, and loan amount, and computes the monthly payment in total. Let me see if I can find that, because actually an interesting, I think it's future value, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So here's part of the problem we're going to have. Double. Enter a loan amount. And we're going to do the same thing for the other ones, which is interest rate and term. That's generally the amount of months. Sure. Get all these values and double payment. to get the loan amount. Okay. First thing, we've got the loan amount. Let's just say $95,000. The interest rate, I think we put this in a fractional portion. Let's say 5%. And the term, and let's say 360, which is 30 years. The payment is, of course, you can see the problem right there, is how it's calculating all the way out. So what is it? Well, if we were to round off, we would basically say that's $509.98. We'd forget about the rest of it. But the problem is, how do we do that? And get rid of the 0.9. How do we get rid of the rest of that and make it something that shows evenly? Well, because you want it to be a value that's going to be stored normally. The way you would typically do this is get the payment amount, and you would say, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. You would say is going to be equal to times 100 divided by 100. So let's see, hold on a second, you have to do this. And this is something you have to do to force the financials to come out correct. I think that will do it. So now, essentially what I'm doing is I'm multiplying the whole thing by 100, which will now give us 50998.05, blah, blah, blah. I cast it to an int, which gets rid of all that, and then I divide it back to 100. So if we do that and we run it, do the same thing again, 95, interest rate 0.05, term 360. No, that didn't work. Did it? Okay, what went wrong? We may have to do the multiplication first before the typecasting. Let's see. It's an order of operation thing. I think I had to do the multiplication first, so let's try this. Oh, still not working. What's going on here? Very finicky. Okay, what's going on here? This should work. Get the loan amount, multiply it by 100, then typecast it to an int. Oh. I got it. I'm wondering if I need this. Yes, I do need it. Okay, that did it. That gave us the proper thing there. 509.98. That was really painful to do that. So, but that shows you the kind of things you have to do to get, and now that's an accurate monetary amount. Could I have done this any simpler? I had to cast it to an int to get rid of everything else. I had to cast it to an int after I multiplied it by 100. And then I tried to just divide it by 100, but unfortunately, because it was cast to an int, it didn't automatically cast back to a double. That's why we lost everything. So I had to automatically cast it back to double. And it had to be done in a certain order. That's why I need all those parentheses. I had to make sure that first I got the amount, then I multiplied it by 100, then I cast it to an int, then I casted it back to a double, because if I do the division before casting it to a double, I lose everything. Divide by 100, and then finally I get the correct payment amount. So I had to do it exactly that way. That's painful. What would you normally do? There's a couple of things you could do to do it. One thing probably would be to simply say we could create a method here. We could do it and get the monthly payment. Of course, I could also create another thing here and just call it money. Or no, this will be a double. And we'll just call it money, or dollars, or whatever, it doesn't matter. Call it money, and which will take a double amount, and we'll simply return. But instead of doing this, it's just going to say amount. Okay, then you wouldn't need to do all this. You could say money then I could use it anywhere I want. What would happen if we put what? Okay, so if I run this again, this should work. Okay, so the other thing you may want to do is, since this is a payment amount, this thing should know that it should be formatted as money, right? And then you wouldn't need to do this. No, the problem is you have to cast it. That won't work because it'll cast it. It gets rid of all the pennies. And you don't want to get rid of all the pennies. You just want to get rid of everything after the two spots. So now that wouldn't work. Any other questions? So that was the problem with that one there. A character is just that one character, and it's usually between a single quote. We'll talk about strings later on, and strings are multiple characters, and they're generally delimited between double quotes.